We're coming up on a year of the Cybertruck being on the roads. Back in November of 2023, that's when the first deliveries took place. And well, since then, we've been seeing more and more of them on the road. But up until really recently, there wasn't really all that much new about the Cybertruck. But with some of the recent updates Tesla has done, it's made me wonder, is it time to finally buy the Cybertruck, or is it still a bad idea? I personally love the Cybertruck. It is my favorite car I've ever driven. I'm a fan, as you can tell. And I was also like gung-ho, full steam ahead on buying a Cybertruck when it was first announced. Back when they announced the prototype, I put my reservation down very quickly. And so when it was ready for production, I was able to buy a Foundation series pretty early on. I had the option, but I ended up not doing it. And at the time when I got the option to get the Foundation series, I was telling myself, no, I'm gonna wait until they drop Foundation series. And there's a few reasons why I think the Foundation series was kind of a bad idea when it comes to purchasing a car. Purchasing really any car is never a great idea, but the Foundation series Cybertruck just seemed like a really bad idea. And really the main issue for me was the price. Not so much the price of the car, I did think that was an issue, but more so that it felt like an inflated price that at any moment was going to drop significantly. If we look at all of the other Teslas that are out there, especially the high-end ones, so Model S, X, the depreciation is kind of insane. At one point you were spending, $140,000 on a Tesla Model S Plaid, and now that car from just 4 years ago is only worth like $50K. That's kind of crazy. And so for someone like me who just, doesn't have like $1 billion laying around, buying a car that could depreciate that much and has a track record of other cars in the company depreciating that much just felt like a scary offering, not a risk I was willing to take. But if you were okay with the price, I know there's obviously a lot of people that were because the Foundation series sold pretty well, there still are some things to consider why it wasn't a great idea, mainly being that this was the first batch of Cybertrucks, so there was bound to be issues with them, whether they are big or small. And not only that, as the manufacturing gets streamlined and they get used to making these trucks, eventually it's just going to get better and better. Now, granted, this is with every single car, but because the Cybertruck is so new and different, it just felt, especially so, like a bad idea to buy the very first versions. And so I held off, and I said at the time that when they drop the Foundation series, that's when I'm going to buy. And well, it's been a few months since that has happened, and well, I haven't ordered the Cybertruck yet. Mainly, the biggest reason is because my wife doesn't want it, but the other reason is because I still am worried that maybe the Cybertruck is a bad financial decision, at least a bad financial decision in comparison to other cars on the market. Now look, the Cybertruck I think is still very cool, and it still has the appeal of being a very unique and interesting car. While I do see quite a few of them on the road, it's not like every other car like maybe it would be for a Model 3, especially if you're in somewhere like California. Here in Utah where I live, I see a ton of Model 3s and Ys, which is to be expected. I also see a ton of Rivians, and I see the occasional Cybertruck. They're really just not that popular, or there's just not that many of them. And I think the question is out there of how popular this car actually is. They had millions of reservations, and it seems they've only sold about 40,000 of these cars, which in the first year seems pretty good actually. But it also seems that maybe they have, gone through their list and that there aren't that many more people looking to buy the Cybertruck since they have now started selling it in Canada. It seems that maybe the people that wanted the Cybertruck in this configuration already have it. They've already had the option to buy one, and if you go place an order, then you're going to be able to pick up a delivery pretty soon. So that shows that the demand is not nearly as high as maybe Tesla thought. Maybe. Add on to that leases are now available for the Cybertruck. So if you're not looking to buy, but rather lease, for $999 at the cheapest, you can set up that lease and drive a Cybertruck. And for Tesla, at least in the past, they don't introduce lease options until they're kind of comfortable with the manufacturing process and the demand. So it makes sense that, the Cybertruck demand is kind of flattening out a bit. But that still leads to the question of, first, why is the demand maybe not as high as that 2 million reservation, which obviously it was never going to be 2 million, but maybe higher than 40K. But why is that? And also, is it time to buy the Cybertruck? For demand, I think the easy answer is that 80K for the base model, or the lowest option right now, is still just too expensive. There's a ton of trucks on the market that are in this range, and well, the Cybertruck, the design is just polarizing. There's no way around it. Like I said, my wife just doesn't want to be driving it. For me, I like the looks. I like ugly things. That's just, I don't know, I think it's cool. But my wife doesn't want to be driving this thing to work. It's just one of those things that is polarizing. But it seems a lot of people were initially, when they first put it on the reservation, they were willing to forego the looks a little bit, give Tesla a chance, because the price and the range figures were all supposed to be so excellent. 50K for 500 miles of range with a truck that looks crazy, has all the Tesla tech, that sounds like a pretty good deal. And it's just not real. So I think that's really what is contributing here to those numbers. Not to say those numbers are bad, but it seems like the Cybertruck hype has kind of gotten flat. But because of that, maybe this is the best time to buy. And it's something my wife and I have been considering, even though she doesn't want to. We have been talking about it back and forth, is this the right decision? And still the fear is that this truck is just gonna drop like a rock in its value. And really, I think the big worry is that because of the polarizing design, the more you see them on the road, the less novel it's going to become. And it's just not gonna be all that interesting anymore. It's just gonna be another Cybertruck, just like you see another Model 3. Doesn't mean it's a bad car. In fact, it still could be the best truck out there, but it's just not interesting anymore. And so because of that, people are not going to be looking for that premium on the resale market. And so your, price is just going to keep going down and down. Now, this is similar to pretty much every car that is out there. So it's not like a unique story for the Cybertruck. It just feels like, we're on the precipice of the Cybertruck getting really cheap on the used market, and buying a new one, I don't know. If it doesn't sit well with me. But I also am not sure of that, so I got the iPad out. We're gonna go to Auto Tempest, which is a good aggregator of all of these things. Not a sponsor, although if they would like to, that'd be great. So I typed in Tesla Cybertruck, I did anywhere from my location, and then I sorted by lowest price, just to see what these are going for. And surprisingly, the prices are holding pretty well. For a while there, they were getting a premium, then they kind of went even to what the MSRP was, and now they're dipping, but not very much at all. So we're looking in the $89,000 price. There's a bunch for that. So 90K seems to be the going rate for a cheap, quote unquote. So that's like the cheapest you can get for a used Cybertruck, and it goes up from there. But as there's more and more of these on the road, it seems like that just can't hold, especially considering the base MSRP is 80K. So if I'm buying a dual motor Cybertruck, I'm not gonna be paying over sticker, especially if I can order one from Tesla and get delivery in a month or two. So yeah, I think if you're looking to buy a Cybertruck, it really just comes down to how comfortable are you with depreciation. I've always been a car buyer that goes to the used market first because of that depreciation. It just seems like you get a much better deal. I've only bought one car that's new in my entire life. And it really just comes down to how comfortable you are with that. Are you okay that maybe next year this time that car is going to be worth 50K and you kind of lost, I don't know, 40K on it? So yeah, it seems that the Cybertruck is just kind of entering the phase at Tesla where it's just another one of their cars. It's not treated that much more special. They're working on other things. This is now just a part of the lineup. And that means you get the things like leases. That means you're going to be able to buy them in other places like Canada. And I also think that that means very soon you're going to be able to get them very affordably on the used market. So if I was going to buy one, it's probably going to be then on the used market. But if you're looking for one new, just know what you're getting into.